know your name, I swear I do. It's on the tip of my tongue. Sorry, what did you say? I've known you for how long? Your face is so familiar, but no name comes to mind. Please, can you remind me if you'll be so kind? Staring out into space, asking God to hear my case. Trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last?
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm Lori La Bey, the host and founder of Alzheimer Speaks. Before we get to our show today, which is really going to be fun, I've got a woman who has created a great tool to engage people with dementia, and she's got multiple things in this little box that I got. It was very fun. This gift box, it comes in all wrapped up and pretty special stuff. So we will talk with Julie Bigham in just a bit. But for those of you that are new, I always like to tell you a little bit about us. Bottom line, Alzheimer Speaks was created due to my own journey with my mother, who lived with dementia symptoms for 30 years. And so our company is an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our caregiving from crisis to comfort around the world. As a daughter, I got really frustrated not being able to find resources, and I just honestly thought it was asinine and really frustrating, and that is not what families needed. And so we believe here in just having everyday conversations with everyday people where they can share their knowledge and their passion to improve our dementia care and to help people live better who are diagnosed and those who are caring for them in communities and corporations at large. At our core, we believe that collaboration is the only way we're going to win this battle. And I know it's working thanks to each and every one of you, because we've gotten some amazing accolades that never would have happened without you sharing our content. And, when we started this, it was never about me, Lori La Bey, the daughter. It was about helping the community. So I really appreciate all your likes, your clicks, your shares to your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn colleagues, your Twitter tribes, your Pinterest peeps, and just talking in general conversation when you run into people. It really has helped. And the content, not only here on the radio show, but our blog, our website, our YouTube channel, we have all different kinds of platforms. You are making a difference by sharing that knowledge. And so I share the accolades that we get with our audience, because they're not, again, about us. They're about us as a team working together. Through your shares and your likes, we got named the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. We were recognized by Maria Shriver as an architect of change for humanity. And then just recently, Oprah recognized us as one of 14 health heroes for 2018. And again, I share all of that with you. This stuff is important, and people's voices need to be heard, and we need to share our knowledge and our creativity in what we know. And so with that, I encourage anyone who's listening to reach out to me if you'd like to be on the show. We interview people who are struggling with dementia symptoms. They may or may not be diagnosed yet. Families who are caring for a loved one. Maybe you're a business that has a service, a product, a tool. Maybe you're an author, researcher, musician. We've had playwrights, songwriters, movie directors, advocates. We want to hear from everybody, because we truly are a team, and that's the only way, we're going to be able to move forward with this. I also want to let you know, because people are always asking me, where can I meet you? Where can I hear you speak? So in March, I am going to be in Chesterton, Indiana, doing a thing called Community Conversations, and that is through the library system. And you can just go to alzheimerspeaks.com and find find that information there. But I will be in Indiana from March 6th to March 9th. Then I'll be down in Melbourne, Florida from March 15th to the 19th for an annual caregiving conference, which will be really fun. And that is through the Center for Family Caregivers. And then towards the end of March, the 26th through the 28th, I'm going to be out in Washington for their Northwest Rural Health Conference. And so if you're in any of those areas, I would love to meet you and have a cup of coffee. So, please feel free to give me a shout out. And speaking of shout outs, I have to recognize a few organizations that I just adore. One actually is an individual, Jonathan Brooks. If you're in Minnesota, where I am right now, she is going to be doing her musical play called My Mother Has Four Noses, and she is there February 10th through March 4th, and she is absolutely incredible. You will laugh, you will cry, and you'll want to come back and bring somebody again. I've seen it probably 5 times, and I'm going to be going again this year because it's absolutely fabulous. I want to give a shout out to the American Senior Magazine. Love their large print. They're great articles. Just go to americasenior.com. And if you go through our website, alzheimersspeaks.com, you can also get a discount there, so that might be advantageous for you. And then people are always asking me about the memory cafes. Where do I find one? You can go to the memorycafedirectory.com. That's memorycafedirectory.com to find out more about that. Just a couple more that I want to shout out to. One is the Roberto app. I just interviewed these guys with RC21X who have developed it, and it is a brain performance app that is now available to everyone. They started out kind of focusing on athletes, but now they are bringing it into schools and into businesses. It is absolutely fabulous and something that you are not going to want to be without, because it'll give you a lot of help in terms of how your day is going and maybe recognizing more easily when you're not getting enough sleep or not eating right or have a lot of stress in your life, things that can be corrected and changed. And then right now, last, I'm going to just shout out to Care to Plan, which is a resource directory for dementia. You can find more out about that by going to alzheimersspeaks.com and then just push on the resource directory itself. So let's get into our show, because this is going to be a fun one, and I think something that people are really, truly going to enjoy a lot. Julie Bigham began her career as an activity professional in long-term care back in the early 90s and has worked independent and assisted living and memory care communities, in addition to serving as a training and education coordinator for an in-home care company. So she's got a really great, well-rounded background. She holds a degree in missions with an emphasis on urban ministry and is completing her caregiver consultant certificate. In addition to helping family caregivers create joy-filled moments with their loved ones, she also provides ongoing continuing ed sessions for professional caregivers, and she hosts the Joy-Filled Visits Memory Cafe, which is located in Matthews, North Carolina, and she just got that registered, she said, on the Memory Cafe directory. So welcome, Julie. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I am thrilled to have you. You've really put something very, very useful together, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But before I do that, I always ask people one question, and that is, have you been personally touched by family or friends, with dementia?
Personally, in my family, I have not. With my career, I've grown quite close to a lot of the families that are dealing with dementia or an Alzheimer's-specific diagnosis, and just watching their journey just touches my heart so much. My own father actually died of a stroke very suddenly about 20 years ago. And I remember leaving the hospital, and I was already working with senior adults in long-term care or a skilled care facility. I remember leaving and, just saying, Lord, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get through this? And about that time, I heard a woman at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, help me, help me, help me. And I thought, Lord, I feel for that family that has to listen to Mom, say, help me, help me. And, I understand now the blessing of not having to deal with that. And so I want to go forward in my career and help these families who, really and truly struggle with the Alzheimer diagnosis and the journey that pursues. I think about, you said 30 years for your mom.
Yeah.
That's a long journey, and I really just have such a heart for the families and what they're going through.
Yeah, it is a long journey, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you," and but to me, that journey was a huge gift. I mean, we have an ability to choose how we're going to deal with whatever pops up in our life, and we can choose. We can choose to learn the beautiful lessons from it, or we can choose to be frustrated. And, I can tell that you've chosen the path of beautiful lessons and to help ease the pain. Because, I remember days when my mom would yell, help me, or she would be crying out and I didn't know what exactly she wanted. And there's nothing more gut-wrenching to a family member than that. And so why don't you tell people a little bit about the Joy-Filled Visit Kit and how it came to be? Because it's very specific. You've got, it's designed really well. You put a lot of thought into this. So this isn't something that you just said one day, I'm going to just put this together and life's going to be peachy. I'm sure there was something that kind of sparked you and really, really moved you in one particular moment.
Oh, absolutely. I think about just my life history and the way my grandfather taught me that bringing joy to the lives of others is so important. Just from a very young age, I can remember the great quality time that my grandpa spent with me. He loved to watch me sing and dance and entertain him, and I had a little character that I played, changing my voice to a little Southern lady, and he just loved it. And when I was 11, we visited, he and my grandmother, in Florida, and he invited me to perform for his friends at the senior center. And at 11, I was captivated with entertaining senior adults and bringing that smile and that laughter. So I think he instilled the joy part into me a long, long time ago. Fast forward to 93, I was an adult. My daughter was old enough to go to daycare, so I thought, I'm going to find a job. And walked into a long-term care facility and was given a job as an activity assistant. And it was awesome. Now I had 88 grandparents to bring joy to. And my whole day would, just be around making people smile and bringing joy to their life. So I think, that was the spark that kind of drove me. And then over the years, as I worked in different care settings, and then my own personal experience losing my dad, I saw the struggle that families were having as they, visited or cared for a loved one who was living with Alzheimer's. And I just thought, wow, what can I do that could lessen this pain for these families? What can I give to them to make it a little better? And the kit actually was designed using all the tools that I used as an activity professional, things that I had learned over the years that families didn't necessarily know about. They didn't have that education. So I just kind of tucked them all into a box and offered them as a kit for families and wrote a manual that I think is pretty easy to read, and the kit was born.
Well, the manual, I have all the pieces in front of me. In fact, I even have the clappy hands and
oh,
stuff
good.
that are in there. And everything is really durable, too, that you've put together. And that's something that I like as well because, when something gets used, it really is important that it's durable. So why don't you talk, I'm going to let you kind of pick one thing to start us off with that's in this kit. What's your favorite thing in the kit?
My favorite thing would be the activity planning section. I actually have a whole section on how to plan an activity with your loved one. That comes from my programming background and something that I really enjoy. It sounds complicated when you say programming, but it's really not. It's taking the things that your loved one, whether that's your mom or dad or husband, wife, taking the things that they always enjoyed doing throughout their life and adapting it to fit every stage of the Alzheimer's disease process so that they can continue to enjoy the activities that were always so meaningful to them. And I actually have a section in the activity planning part of the manual that walks families through how to adapt an activity to meet right where your loved one is at that time. When they're in the early stage, they will probably be able to do an activity in this way. As they maybe get to the middle stage, then we're going to adapt it to fit their abilities at that stage. And then even in the late stage, how can we adapt that same activity so they're having success and enjoying what they're doing during the activity process.
Can you give people an example of how an activity can be changed to be adapted?
Absolutely. So I love to crochet, and this is actually one that comes from the manual. Right now, I can complete a pattern. I can pick out the yarn that I want to use, and I can complete a pattern. In the early stages, your loved one will probably still be able to do some of that. They may need a little help keeping up with supplies, making sure they have what they need, maybe helping read a pattern. As they enter the mid-stage, they may not be able to actually even complete a project. Maybe they're just crocheting, a chain, but they're still getting the feel of the yarn. They're touching it, they're feeling it, maybe rolling it into balls. And then in the later stage, you may actually sit down with them, bring some of the projects that they've done in the past to let them touch and hold, talk to them about the memories that are associated with that particular project, feel the softness of the yarn and everything. So they're getting to still enjoy something that they did all their life, and you've adapted it to fit right where they are in that moment.
Oh, cool. It's I think that that's really important too, is to know that there's no one way to do something. That dementia really teaches us to be more flexible and get out of our own way sometimes. I think. Right. Because I know it's really easy to do the my way or the highway type thing, and that just doesn't work. With this disease. And you have so many different opportunities here. I love how you've designed recipes for success, activities for Alzheimer's at your fingertips, and it truly is. And then you've color-coded the different things in here, from reminiscing to arts and crafts to cooking and baking, brain games, and odds and ends. So people really get a nice variety here. And, one of your mottos you've got in here that's written is be creative, be safe, and have fun,
Exactly.
And that's really the way it should be.
And I think, a lot of times the activity portion scares people because maybe they haven't, done that. Maybe they haven't, done any programming, or they participate in their own activities, but, they may not look at it as being an activity. When I cook dinner, sometimes that's a chore to me, whereas if I get to bake cookies, that's an activity that I really enjoy. And sometimes it's not as complicated as it sounds. I think the recipe for success for those people who, don't feel that they have that creative juice, it kind of kickstarts for them. It lays out the materials they'll need and the directions for making it happen. And just remembering, I think the one important thing is that a beautiful picture or a perfect tasting cookie is not the goal. It's the experience that your loved one has as they're participating in that activity.
That's a great thing to remember. And I also love that you put in here, materials you need, and each one starts out with a smile and a hug. It is about engagement. It is about being in relationship with somebody. And, this one here is on under arts and crafts, and it's flower arranging. And how many times do we not take advantage of that being an opportunity to engage and be creative and allow somebody to help? And what a beautiful experience that is, because then it's showcased, in the home, and you've got card making and beading and just all different types of things. And you've really laid this out very, very well. You have music in here, spirituality, which I think is so important. Can you talk about the spirituality a little bit?
Well, it's one of the areas that I worry about some in our facilities. A lot of the facilities that I've worked in, I don't think we pay enough attention to a resident's need to express their spirituality. A lot of times even praying at a mealtime might go by the wayside as care staff are, really trying to get the job done. So I think that is a place that we need to pay particular attention. For most people who are spiritual, that's a very large portion of their life. And to go from maybe going to church on a regular basis, going to Bible study, doing a devotion every morning, and then suddenly you're cast into a situation where you're not, encouraged to do any of that anymore or assisted to do any of that anymore. I can imagine how devastating that could be. And it doesn't have to be real complicated. I think if you have a loved one who's not able to get out and go to church. Churches are now live streaming. You make an activity of it Sunday morning at such and such a time. We're gonna have church right in our living room. And I think the same for Bible study. If mom or dad can't get out to go to Bible study anymore, how about we have a couple of friends in once a month and have Bible study at home? So those are great activities, and I think it is such a need for people who are spiritual to have that opportunity, and we just kind of need to help facilitate that for them.
I agree. That runs so deep with people. I remember my mom, even at her end stages, knowing she was really into music, so the biblical songs and stuff were really important to her, just music in general. But certain phrases, certain biblical lines can just be really important. Even storytelling. I mean, there were just so many little things. Prayers, she could still remember that she taught us when we were young, that she was probably taught when she was young. Those are ingrained in us, and if we can lay those things into place where they can succeed and fill that need of being connected that we all have. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to offer. You also have a photo album, which I think is really cool in this kit, because a lot of times we take photos and now we're digital, but a person with dementia, as the disease progresses, can't do digital. And what can you talk a little bit about why you think the photo album is so helpful, and maybe how it can help people in communication?
Oh, right. The photo album, really, when we think about Alzheimer's and people who are living with it, their long-term memories hold much longer than the short-term. We know a lot of times they can remember their wedding, but can't remember breakfast from yesterday. And so when we're providing care, it's important to engage them in memories, that are meaningful, which would be generally, those mid-teens through the 30s, that time period when they were, maybe going to college, getting married, raising their family. And so photos from that time period can just bring back such wonderful memories for people living with Alzheimer's. I just think it's a great tool, and we include that in the memories box. That actually what the kit comes in is a pink box that becomes your memories box. And another great tool for reminiscing, you fill the box with trinkets that are important to your loved one. So I give an example, from my own self. If my kids were creating a memories box for me, then the photo album would be in there filled with pictures from, my marriage, my raising my children, from our adventures together, and also magnets. One of the things that we've done with our kids since they were little, everywhere we travel, we pick up a magnet, and it goes on the refrigerator. And I can tell you where we purchased each one and the story behind it. And it brings back such wonderful memories for me. If my kids were creating a memories box for me, the magnets would be perfect to put into this box along with a photo album that would help me just to sit and reminisce about all the wonderful adventures we had as a family. And I could sit and do that probably for hours. The memories box is portable, and so if you're taking mom or dad to a doctor's visit where you're going to have a long wait, or taking a car trip with mom or dad, the memories box would be a great way to keep them engaged while you travel or while you wait. And I think reminiscent therapy is just such an important tool, and the photo album just fits in there really nicely.
Can you explain, because reminiscing, I think sometimes family members especially get into making it correct. And how do we do reminiscing right so everyone's not getting frustrated? Because I've seen that happen.
Yeah, it can. I think a lot of times we tend to be very literal-minded, and so the memories that mom may have of an event may not match exactly what we know happened during that event. But that's okay. If it's bringing mom joy, it's not wrong. Just to let her kind of go through the memories box, or, as you're talking about memories, let her just be lost in the moment of what brings joy. So sometimes, I'm not saying anybody's doing it wrong, I'm just saying sometimes our expectation of the outcome is more than it really needs to be. So as long as mom is enjoying the memories that she's engaged in, I think that's wonderful. The memories box in the kit comes with an inventory listing, so you can actually list out specifically what's in the memories box. For me, it would be magnets. For somebody else, it might be little collectibles that they collected, in their adulthood. It might be newspaper clippings or letters that they received from a friend. And so every box is going to be different. It's going to be done specifically for that individual. And the memories that are in there should be things that just bring joy to their life. And if they get the dates wrong, or they get, the specifics of the event wrong, it's okay. We just kind of go with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think if we can keep in mind, because we all fall into this thing where we all think everybody sees everything exactly as we do. And, just think of an accident and the policeman going around asking what happened. And everybody's perception of it is different. And if we can kind of let go of that and focus more on the feelings that are happening,
Right.
and focus on that comfort, focus on the joy, focus on the peacefulness, because my guess is people are probably a lot like myself with my mom when, if she was frustrated, I was frustrated. Or if I was frustrated, she was frustrated. I mean, we would mirror one another, and that's not good. And so when you can really relish and focus in their peacefulness and in their joy, no matter what's going on in your world, you just become peaceful. You just let go of what's bugging you for a while and really be in the moment. And I think that's what all of these tools, will do for people. It's absolutely, they're just wonderful. Now you have one in here with a balloon, which is it's kind of fun. Again, the way you've packaged this is really neat, Julie. And so, can you explain the balloon, because that probably, I looked at that and go, balloon, what the heck, But you had great ideas for the use of the balloon.
Well, I'll tell you, the kit, the tool that comes in is called the bag of tricks. And that's something that I learned very early in my career working with senior adults, when I would go door to door asking people, would you like to come to this activity? And they would look at me and, there's that typical word that comes out, no. I heard that quite frequently. And I learned that being silly can really turn that no into a yes. I had a resident who family was becoming a little concerned that she didn't want to come out of her room. And we had a gospel band coming that morning, and I knew that was music that she really loved. So I headed into her room with this really funny hat that had tulips coming up out of it. And I went in and I explained to her about the activity and asked her to come. And, of course, she looked at me, and she was eyeing my hat rather suspiciously, but she said, no, I'm not going. And I was trying to be ever positive. I said, well, why don't you think about it, and I'll come back in a few minutes and we'll talk again. I stepped out of the room and pulled those tulips down like they had wilted on my hat. And I walked back into her room, and she looked at me. And she said, that is the dumbest thing I have ever seen. But if you care enough about me that you want me to go to hear this band, I will go with you. And I thought, oh, wow, that's a win. Even though she kind of hurt my feelings about the tulips, that was a win, because she went, she had a great time, and the family was very pleased. I learned then that being silly and putting yourself out there could have positive ramifications. And the bag of tricks comes off of that. I want families to know that sometimes you're gonna run into tense moments, whether that, getting a no response to something that you'd like your loved one to do, or whether they're just having a hard time at that moment. And how can we diffuse that situation as quickly as possible? Because if we let it escalate, it's going to get totally out of control. So I put together what's called the bag of tricks. Inside there's some note cards that will kind of help talks about reminiscing and how to do reminiscing with your loved one, talks about communication, how to keep them focused, and how to have a successful visit. And then I included a game that you were referencing with the balloon. We know that exercise is important both for the body and for the mind, for sure. But if you're looking for a fun and easy way to help your loved one get a little exercise, balloon ball, or what we used to call keeping it up, is really fun. And it's just, it comes with a balloon. Of course, you'll need more of those if you're going to continue to do it. But it's going to help your loved one to bat that balloon back and forth with you. It helps with their range of motion, their reaching and stretching, eye-hand coordination, and even their response time. So it really has a lot of benefits for them, and it's fun. So you're going to be exercising, and they're going to be laughing, having a good time, and not even really realize that they're exercising.
Yeah, I have a little 3-year-old granddaughter, and we've had just a lot of parties at the house lately. And she just loves the balloon, just hitting the balloon, and she's so happy playing with it by herself or playing with it with somebody else. And, she's up, she's down, she's all over.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
it's just, it's something fun. It's something easy. My mom used to like that too, until the point where she really couldn't, move her arms and stuff. But she liked watching, other people play too, because, they would just naturally giggle. And, most people, I don't think I've ever really seen anybody, kind of bouncing the ball and keeping the balloon up in the air and be snarky. Most people, even if they start out that way, they end up cracking a smile because it's like the energy in the room just changes.
Right. And, I played balloon volleyball with residents. We actually had a net, and we would play teams, so they were batting it back and forth. And even some of the residents that I had with macular degeneration, if I used the right color balloon, they could participate, and they loved it. And then it's a competition on top of, everything else, and really just having a good time. So I'm not really in favor of doing a lot of childish activities, but I think when you're talking about the balloon ball, it really puts it on another level. And you're right, it makes people laugh, and that, that's what we're going for, those joy-filled moments with your loved one is what we're going for. And I've even done the balloon in a hospital room, with an individual that was spending some time in the hospital and playing that while they're in the bed, and they're just giggling and laughing and having a good time. So.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that when someone is ill, like you said, even in the hospital, we all get this really serious, side to us, and they're like, I know it's serious.
Right.
Balance me out here a little bit, let me know we're connected on all levels, because, they don't necessarily want to see us worried and serious. That makes them more fearful. And, it's, to me, that joy and that laughter is so critical, and I think sometimes it's really underplayed and undervalued, the importance of it from just a mental health aspect. If we're always down the rabbit hole, that's not a good place to be for anybody. And so one thing the disease taught me, or that my mom taught me through her disease, was as an adult to play again, to let go and just have a good hard belly laugh and be silly, because life is too short. And
absolutely.
And that was a really rich gift, and as an adult, you don't think you've lost your ability to play, but just ask your kids, they'll tell you, for the most part, you're playing the role of the sergeant or, the controller, the organizer, or whatever, but to just simply play and let all that other stuff just wait a while and really be in the moment is quite special. And I think your kit will really help people get there. Even like with your photo album, just having that come in the kit is just a reminder for people to take photos. They're so precious, and take video to be able to watch nowadays too. We can do that off our phone. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the way that we can connect is pretty cool. Have you ever done any of the activities with somebody, maybe as a long distance caregiver, being part of an activity? And there might have to be somebody on site with the person with dementia, depending on how far along they are, and just doing an activity together, but by a long distance.
Well, it's all of the modern technology that we have today, I think it's definitely possible, and even family members who are at a distance, and that's a hard place to be. Like for myself, my siblings, we're all scattered over the United States, and my mom is about 2 hours away from me, and I'm the closest. Getting us all together is hard. So the fact that we can do, Skype or FaceTime and those kind of things are wonderful. I've never done that myself, but I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I would think for especially some of these, or the reminiscing could easily be done, via a Skype or a Zoom or a FaceTime.
Right.
There are ways that we could interact there, but we could even do an activity and be able to show one another via the video, what it is we're doing, or making memory boxes together, even though you're apart. Just still being able to communicate. I don't think we leverage the technology as well as we could. And that's just one of my thoughts there.
I agree.
With that.
I agree, definitely.
Now you have some tips to help your loved one if you're caring for them at home to stay focused. Do you mind just sharing a couple of those with people?
Sure, I don't mind a bit. I think that what's really important is, when you're trying to get someone's attention, we want to first, and the thing that I'm going to kind of list these the way I would do it if I was working with someone, we get their attention to start with, and that may be, a soft touch to the arm or the knee, calling them by name, and then gaining eye contact. Is really important. And you'll know when your loved one's looking at you and they're tracking with you, or if they're just looking at you and they're not hearing what you're saying. So it's, gaining that eye contact and going back to that over and over again. If you lose it, calling, Mom, can you look at me? Let me see your pretty eyes today, and regaining that. If you're going to do an activity with a family member, I think, you want the setting to be less any other distractions. So, no television or radio going, unless you're doing, an activity that requires those. If you want to keep their attention, you want to limit the distractions around them, because those are heard so much stronger for people with Alzheimer's than if they are for us. Even they're kind of confused of where am I supposed to be paying attention. So limiting those is good. And then the one-on-one where you're actually sitting with your loved one, depending on whether they're in an earlier stage or a later stage, you may actually have to do like a hand under or hand over hand, where you're helping them if you're doing a painting activity, or, the adult coloring, those kind of things, where you're actually helping them as they go. But I just think it's really important to know to go back and make sure that they're tracking with you, that you haven't lost them, and bring them back to the activity at hand. And just knowing how to do that, just saying, Mom, how you doing? Can you look at me? Can you make good eye contact? Just, your eyes are so pretty today, and just regaining that focus.
Well, that's great. Do you encourage people to turn off their cell phones or mute them at least, and not have electronics? Because I think we're all so connected that sometimes we forget to disconnect too.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's really important, because it may not be your loved one's focus that you're losing, but your own, right? Because we're tuned into who might be calling, or things that are happening at home. And I think a good visit is going to be high quality, and it's going to be just you and I, in the visit. So we want to eliminate distractions, not only for our loved one but for ourselves.
Great. Now, this kit can be used not just at home for people who have a loved one at home, but I would imagine that this could be used in different community settings as well. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I think there are some really good tips for the early caregiving journey in the beginning of the manual. We cover acceptance of the diagnosis, and also gaining knowledge, so going out there and learning about Alzheimer's through the Alzheimer's organization. So there are some really good tips for early caregiving and caregiving at home. But I think also actually, it can provide you with some guidance on what are my visits going to be like when I go to visit Mom in the facility, or Dad. What does that activity look like, and how do I prepare for that? so that you have your bag of tricks that you've put together for your loved one. You have the memories box that you've put together with the photo album, and you take those with you. And you have an activity plan. So if your mom loves to play cards, maybe you're going to play a game with her. But maybe she doesn't want to play cards today. So we pull the memories box out, and we kind of are flexible ourselves in what we're going to do with mom. So I think the kit kind of helps families walk through what that visit can look like. And I just have seen families struggle to know, what do I say to mom? Mom wants to talk about the food's not good, she's not sleeping at night, nobody talks to her. So, it's that negative talk, and really it's on us as the caregivers to keep it positive. So, we want to keep the conversation flowing in a positive direction rather than the worry or the negative. And I think the kit really helps families walk through that.
Well, and I think, I agree. I would love to see communities have these kits accessible for families when they visit, because especially in the beginning, people are so lost, after they kind of get them settled in. We're busy moving furniture around and hanging pictures and organizing stuff. And then once that's done, then sometimes families can get really lost and not know what to do. And so having kits like this available, I think, would be really, really helpful. And I guess I haven't seen a lot of communities offer something like that up in terms of educating families, how to communicate when they visit. And I would have loved that, I know, with my own mom. Now, how can people purchase the kit?
I have a website. It's www.joyfilledvisits.com, and the kit is available through that. And it works on PayPal, which takes, your credit cards as well. And if they have specific questions, then they're more than welcome to email me as well at julesbigham@yahoo.com. So either way, we can get the kit to them. But the website is probably the easiest way to order.
Okay. Well, wonderful. And do you offer other services or support to families or communities besides the kit?
I have a small consulting that I do with families. Now, my area of expertise is very specific, so I work with families on the engagement piece. And, the visitation or the activity, keeping mom or dad active, really hoping that I can help families stave off isolation. I think that happens so often in the caregiving at home process, where when it gets really difficult or they're afraid that mom may say or do something that's embarrassing for them, it's easier just to stay at home. And that can be isolating and cause depression, not only for the caree, but also for the caregiver, because we all need that interaction. So I work with them on keeping mom active and engaged, or dad, and also host the Memory Cafe, which is another opportunity for them to get out of the house into an environment where they can enjoy time together. So we encourage the caregiver to bring the caree with them and participate in Memory Cafe together. So it's an activity that they can enjoy.
Wonderful. Well, Julie, you are just doing such fabulous work. I want to mention one other thing in this kit. You also have emergency information, which is so helpful. I don't think people organize, or think of that emergency situation that could come into play. And you've really done a nice job putting this together. And so, again, I think you've really you've looked at all aspects, because an emergency can happen to any of us. And, This form doesn't have to be just for a person with dementia. We should probably all have one filled out
Absolutely.
on ourselves
Absolutely.
if we're honest.
Yeah.
Well,
That came from my own experience with my mom, because she is 2 hours from me, and she's had a couple of falls, and we hear about it, of course, a day later. And so she has this emergency information form on her refrigerator and with a trusted friend that and her pastor, actually, so that, if she were to have a fall at church, or maybe someone from the church is with her when she has an emergency situation, everybody knows, who do I call, where do I find the information, paperwork that I might need to go to the ER, those types of things that sometimes, we get into a situation and we're so fearful that we forget, now what do I do next? And I like to be proactive. I like to have the information there at my fingertips if I need it. So that's where the emergency information form, that came just from my own personal experience with my mom. Good information to have, where documents can be found, if there's a DNR order or not, the emergency contact person, the POA, pastor, and any medications or allergies they may have. It's all right there so that emergency personnel can get right to work on what they need to do.
Oh, fantastic. That is wonderful. Well, Julie, like I said, I so appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And you want to give people the website one more time?
Right. It's www.joyfilledvisit.com.
Great. And I really, this is a fantastic, just a fantastic kit. Can you tell people pricing of the kit too, or could they buy things separate? The Recipe for Success book is actually a separate booklet that they can order. The kit is $54. That's with tax. If it has to be shipped, there will be some shipping added in there, depending on where it's going. But it is the base $4. Okay, wonderful. Well, I think it's well worth it. It's like I said, it's very well put together, and you will have tons of ideas and guidance with this. So again, thank you for all you do. Appreciate your work, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. In wrapping up, I just want to let people know that there is the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation that you might want to check into. They kind of take a holistic approach, and you can find them at alzheimersprevention.org, alzheimersprevention.org, but they really are looking at living the best possible life with dementia, you'll just find their education and their information, I think, very worthwhile. Also, the Call Alert Center has a great product if you're worried about somebody wandering. And if you go to alzheimersspeaks.com, right on our front page, you can put in a discount code. It's only like $15 a year, but it's always nice to be prepared in case of that emergency. And just knowing that you've got all the ducks in a row, they will do a blast out to basically mobile phones, but they'll also work with the police, and it'll be something you'll be able to share on social media easily to just assist in the process there. And the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, which is Maria Shriver's movement known as WHAM, I would encourage you to check that out and become part of her wall and sign up for her Move for the Minds event, which they'll be announcing here very soon. You can get more details at the Women's Alzheimer's Movement.org. Again, that's the Women's Alzheimer's Movement.org. And last, I just want to remind people that the Neurofilm Festival, the deadline to submit a film for 2018 is, what the heck is it? I just lost it here. I want to say it's March 2nd. And there will be one grand prize of $1,000 in 4 different categories. One is why you think neuroscience is cool. 2 is why you think neuroscience is rewarding. 3, why you think neuroscience is essential. And 4, why you think neuroscience is critical. This is Lori La Bey with Alzheimer Speaks. Have a blessed day and enjoy. Bye now.
Hi, everyone. This is Meredith from the Senior Fitness with Meredith podcast, where I discuss all things for seniors, from fitness, your health and wellness journeys, how to be all over strong and beyond. I also have my mini podcast called Motivation with Meredith. It's a great, quick motivational pick-me-up for your days. Join me, listen now, search for Senior Fitness with Meredith on your favorite podcast platform.